Good morning and welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach and it is chilly this morning. What you just saw there was me feeding about 4 or 5 pumpkins to the animals. Remember, as you're turning into your Christmas decorations and you got pumpkins everywhere, feed them to your animals or donate them to a farm because they're fantastic for the animals. They love it, it's good for them, it's healthy, so don't let them go to waste. Give them to a farmer or a homesteader. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I did want to share with you all because we actually went live on Monday. That was a lot of fun. We haven't been live in forever. We might throw a few of those in here and there. But if you missed the live, I wanted to make sure that you got this good news before it passed by you because things just go fast. So I had mentioned last week that our Black Friday sale would be coming out soon. Well, it is officially live and we have basically everything back in stock. There's still a few more down here that we have to do. But most of those we do have stock of. We just need to get them so there'll be plenty of it. But anyways, to the deal, to the good stuff. We are doing 20% off minimum purchase of $25 or more. What makes that special is we normally make that minimum $50, but we want to make sure that the more people are able to get this deal, especially if you're not wanting to spend a whole lot of money. We get it, times are tough, but this is a way that you can get some products for Christmas presents for yourself, whatever it may be, and still get that discount. So $25 or more, you get 20% off, no code necessary. It'll automatically be applied to your cart once the subtotal is above $25. Now, with that being said, we still are offering free shipping and the 20% off if you do spend $50 or more. So you get that 20% discount and the free shipping, which we all know shipping is expensive sometimes. So that is a huge deal that we have. And I can't stress this one enough. And I almost got seasonings because of this. Folks, your husbands don't want no more hot sauce. They don't want no more of them Christmas pack hot sauces. Get them something they'll use. We do have all of these seasonings. There's 6, no, there's more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 of them. If you got 10 of them, you're looking at least like, I think probably 2 of them completely free with that discount and with the free shipping. That is a heck of a holiday pack that you can get your dad, your husband, grandfathers, father-in-laws, whatever it is, because we love putting seasonings on our meats, not so much all the different hot sauces in the world. There's your tidbit for today. And husbands and children, your mom's probably tired of whatever that gift is that you keep giving her. She loves homemade stuff. Get her some teas. There's all kinds of different flavors, all kinds of different things that they would like. And then, of course, we have our tinctures, our salves. Our seeds are back in stock, so we sell comfrey and loofah seeds. Both of those are back in there. So there's all kinds of things to choose from. This goes through December 1st, so make sure that you go and get it. Things go fast. The discount will go fast because it'll be December before we know it. Literally, Thanksgiving is next week. That is nuts to even think about. So there you go. There's our deal. 20% off, minimum purchase of $25 or more. 20% off and free shipping if you spend at least $50 in the store. Y'all go get it. We appreciate all of the support that you all give us, and we are happy to provide some unique Christmas gifts for your family and friends. Okay, if you came to talk about gardening, let's do that now. Let's have a little fun. So as it becomes colder and colder and everything's dying off and we're pretty much maybe got some salad greens growing in a greenhouse or under a little low tunnel, it's time to reflect on our gardening season. What went well, what didn't go so well, and what do we need to do next year to maybe be even better? So let's start with what went well for us. So if you're new around here, we are in Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky, in the Appalachian Mountains, and we are technically, they call it zone 6B, but because of our elevation, we kind of teeter on a little 5, but most all of Kentucky is 6B, and that's kind of what we phase it by, and just wanted that for reference because if you're watching, it's always nice to know if it's close to you, not close to you, whatever it may be. So this year, the number one thing that went well for us but needs some adjusting was our tomatoes. So every year we have been pruners. We prune our tomatoes. We cut them back to basically one stem, let them grow real tall. And that's how we do it. It looks really nice when you do that. Like your garden looks clean. It's easy to access the tomatoes and everything just looks visually very nice when you do the pruning. Well, Jen and I have always felt like we were not getting the yields that we should be getting back. And now these were not determinate tomatoes that we were using. So they were indeterminate, which means you're allowed to prune and you should still get the same kind of yields. We still didn't feel like that was right. We still felt like there should be more tomatoes that we're getting out of each one of these plants because we're planting like 100 tomatoes and it didn't feel right. So her and I were like, you know what, let's not touch them this year. And a lot of the reasons that people do prune their tomatoes, especially if they're in a high humidity climate, they can cause blight on your tomato plants. It can cause stress to your plants, and could eventually potentially kill them if they don't have enough space and airflow in the bottom. Well, you know, the thing about some of those diseases is they can be cut off. If they're hitting some limbs that are in the dirt or this and that, you can trim the bottoms a little, and you don't have to trim the whole plant. But this year, we didn't touch them. We didn't touch them whatsoever and let them completely grow. Now, they were a mess. They were all over the place. They were growing like crazy, but we got more tomatoes this year than I would say the last 3 years combined. So for us, what went really well is not pruning our tomatoes, and we will not prune them for the foreseeable future until this decides it isn't gonna work. The one thing that we do need to adjust is we need better cages. So we had always built a cattle panel straight down the middle, and we would tie them up to that. Well, it's hard when you have about 15, wild stems that are going on here. It's too much weight to try to tie it on. So for next year, we need to figure out a better cage system to let them grow wild, but also give them support. That way they're not laying on the ground. Something else that went really well, and every year it's kind of back and forth. You never know what's gonna happen. But it was our pumpkins. Our pumpkins did really good this year. We had some massive yields. The one thing I noticed though, is we planted many different varieties in the 2 beds that we allowed to have pumpkins. And if one wasn't fast enough, it got taken over. So what we noticed was we had about 3 varieties that really took over the patch, and that was the only 3 variety of pumpkins that we got. So next year we might do a little bit more better spacing, allow some of the seedlings to get a little bit better to take off, or we may just grow your regular old jack-o'-lanterns, the nice orange ones that people carve and stuff, because if we're gonna sell them, that's mainly what people want, not the wild, crazy colors that are hard to carve in. So that's something that we need to decide moving forward. But what we do know is the pumpkin patch that we had going went great. Something else that did really well this year, and it's been well in all the past years too, it's something that we'll continue to do, is we are going to get green beans in the ground as early as possible in one bed. And then as that one's growing and starting to get big, like basically when you're getting ready to pull that first harvest, in a different bed, we go ahead and direct sow a bunch more green beans. Now what happens with this, and while we do that, is we try to be as organic as possible. We don't even really spray much BT or DE on our plants at all, or even neem oil. We do it if we absolutely have to, if it's a bad pressured bug year. All that stuff's fine, it's very organic, but we really just like to let things go and adjust to what nature gives us. And with that is we have a Mexican bean beetle that basically is unstoppable, unless you spray pesticides on your plants, which are just not gonna happen for us. So we plant them in one bed, we basically skip 2 beds down, and that's where we direct sow the other green beans. So once we get a few good harvests off this one, the beetles have taken them down, but they're busy. So while they're busy on the first crop, the second crop is ready to be harvested, and we're getting plenty of green beans every year to give us a year's worth. So that's something that we'll always do. A couple other quick ones just to move on to not just like complimenting things that went right. We gotta talk about the things that went bad too, because that's more likely than the stuff that's going well. The peppers. We just got to expect in our area here that peppers are going to be really late every single year. They're going to be the last thing that we get big harvest on, and it's going to be close to frost. We're just not getting hot enough. We're not getting hot enough throughout the summer to really, in our area, to produce those peppers in July. We're getting them late August, into September. That's when we're going to be getting our big yields of peppers, and that's something that we just really need to remember. So they went well, but it was more of, okay, it's been 3 years in a row, and we're not getting peppers till September. Just expect it. Other things that went well this year, which usually don't, are cauliflower and cabbage. We were actually able to get things out early enough in the spring to beat the bugs. So that way when they were ready, yes, it was getting warm, but we could take them off before the bugs got a hold of them. And the last thing that was really surprisingly good this year was our cottage garden. So we have an Airbnb on the top of our property, and if you all have been around for a while, we threw 2 raised beds up there. The thought was our Airbnb guests will be able to get fresh vegetables while they're staying there. And it's a cool idea, and a lot of people enjoyed that this year. My worry was we're not up there enough, and the rabbits and the deer and all that stuff was just gonna tear it up and eat it. Now, thankfully it is in a fenced in area, but deer, they can jump a 5-foot fence easily. You almost need like an 8-9 foot fence to try to keep these things back, and you almost need them to be spaced. So quick side note here, if you are having a bad deer issue, deer can jump really high. Like you can put a big tall fence in there, but they're gonna figure that out. What deer can't do is jump really wide. So if you can have your fence and then like get a temporary fence, something that looks like a fence to run inside about 4 foot away from your other fence. Them visually are like, I can't make that jump. So that'll help deter them. So there's a little tidbit for you. But thankfully ours, it didn't get ate up. It was nice. We had huge yields out of 2 little raised beds and 1 cattle panel. The Airbnb guests got to enjoy it, and we got to have more yield out of peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, etc. That was really nice. I hope it works out well next year too. On to things that didn't go great. I'm putting peas on this list because yes, we had a better year than we've ever had, but they still weren't to the level that we see others do, right? They weren't as big, there wasn't as big of a yield, and it's just one of those things that we still struggle to get right, and that is peas. So we're gonna adjust, we're gonna try to figure out maybe a different trellising system, because right now we're using cattle panels. That doesn't seem to be the greatest thing for them. They don't like to take onto it very easily. So we're gonna try to find something else out to really make them take off early, because it's taken them a long time. So yes, it went better than it has before, but I still know we can do better. And I told you cabbage and cauliflower went really well, but broccoli didn't. I don't know why. Broccoli is so tough to grow, and we have had successful harvests from them in the past, but the past couple years, we either too early or too late. This year we was too late because they had nice little heads, but then they bolted on us, and then when they bolt, they're bitter, and you just can't eat them no more. But your animals can sometimes. They're a little picky. So I think we were gonna go back to maybe putting them in our greenhouse. That was our best year that we had because we could get them out in January, and they stayed nice and cool, but they stayed protected with the greenhouse, and that was probably our best broccoli year. So probably moving back into a greenhouse or a low tunnel of some form so we can get them out much earlier than we did this year. We also had a pretty tough okra year, and that's something that's usually very simple for us to grow. We never have an issue with it, and bugs usually stay off okra. I think our issue this year was we planted too many too close. That is a problem I have often. I gotta work on my spacing. Our gardens look like jungles in there, and sometimes they're really difficult to get to, and especially okra because they're spiky and they sting you, and even if you get the spineless ones or the non-spiky ones, they are a tough thing to harvest from. They irritate my skin like crazy. So next year I'm definitely going to plant less plants, and I'm going to have them much more spaced out. One, so I don't have to dread harvesting them, and 2, we can make sure that we're not missing a bunch of okra and getting these big ones, because if you've never grown okra before, those you got to get at a small age. If they get big, they're not edible. They're like I don't even know how to describe it. They're like cardboard once they get too big. So we have to do better at spacing. I have to do better at spacing. I know some of y'all feel my pain there. And our last, what didn't go great, which is something that, I mean, it always goes fine, but it's more of I need to do something different, was our flowers. I love growing zinnias. Y'all know that. I love growing sunflowers, Mexican sunflowers, dahlias. I love growing all those things. I think there's a lot of joy in having the beauty in the garden, plus bringing the pollinators over there. So we have a huge raised bed on the side of our greenhouse that we grow all of our flowers on. Well, what I'm noticing is we don't get to really enjoy them that much, and people don't get to enjoy them that much because they're blocked by the greenhouse. Now, if you're in the garden, it's beautiful. You can see them all the time. But I think we're gonna plant them there, but that will not be our primary flower spot. I'm gonna plant them there just to help bring the bees, but I wanna maybe have something in our kitchen garden or make some new beds that are more in front of the house or around the house, so we can really showcase some of these beautiful flowers that we grow, because I want them to be seen. I love it. I want everybody to enjoy them as much as I enjoy them, and they can't when they're hidden. So, better flower spots. Let me know down in the comments, what are some of the things that you tried out this year that went really well, and what were some of the things that maybe you tried out that you won't do again? It's community. It helps when we talk about this stuff because it allows us to adjust and do different things maybe that we want to try in our garden. So as it continues to get cold, I know we're not really thinking about gardening too much, but we need to be. So we may not be specifically laying out our gardens, but we do need to figure out, hey, was that enough raised beds? Do we need to build some more? Or do we need a better garden plot that's in ground? Do we need to be adding compost to it? All that stuff needs to be happening as we're in these cooler months. That way the ground has a chance to rest, and then when it comes spring, it'll be ready to grow. So I know for us, there are definitely some raised beds that we would like to add. If not raised beds, we want to get a better in-ground tilled garden beside our raised bed area. Always be expanding, always add at least a little garden spot here and there every year, because you're gonna need it. It's never hurts to have more garden space, even if you're just planting flowers for beauty. And then lastly, something that we do every year that you definitely need to make sure that you're doing, go in your pantry. Look at all of your successes that you did. Canning this year, freeze drying, dehydrating, whatever it may be. Take quantity amounts. How much did I get of each one of these things? Is that enough for a year? Maybe that's enough for 2 years. And I know this might sound crazy, but maybe you grew enough tomatoes and you have enough tomato juice, chili, spaghetti sauce, all that stuff in your pantry that you don't need to grow tomatoes this year. It's okay to not grow tomatoes every year if your pantry has 2 years worth. Maybe you need to be growing something else that you have a little more. Is it light on green beans? Maybe you need to up the green bean seeds this year and cut down on tomatoes. Now the tomatoes you can still grow, obviously, if you want a fresh one here and there, but maybe you don't need to grow 50 of them. You can grow 4 of them. That way you're making sure, especially in your garden space, that you're utilizing it to the best of its ability. We don't want to grow a bunch of different varieties of vegetables and get small yields that aren't covering us for a year. We want to make sure that we're being precise and growing what we need to feed our family. And then the next year, maybe we don't have to grow so many and we can adjust to a different variety. If you spread them too thin, you're only getting maybe 3 or 4 months worth. Maybe it's getting you through the winter, but that's not enough. We want to make sure that we're eating from our pantry and we're growing fresh and we're continuing to add to it and we're not depleting it. So really get specific on your garden layout and what you're going to be growing this year and what is already in your pantry. Sometimes it makes hard decisions and it might sound crazy to not grow a tomato this year, but those are the decisions that you need to make sure your pantry has a variety and it's not just red because it's a whole bunch of tomatoes. So get serious about that and think about it. But you know, that's what the winter's for. The winter is for us to take time to think, to really contemplate what went well, what didn't go well, what we want to do different, what we need to be growing, what seeds we need. Get specific on that. Also, as you all know us, we love our medicinal herbs. That's always something that grows really well. Make sure that you continuously add more medicinal herbs to your garden. If that's maybe just the one thing that you add to it this year, definitely do it because they are so valuable. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it because you're not getting an actual vegetable or a fruit off of it, but what you're getting is health. You're getting health. So make sure that you continue to grow. There's always more herbs to grow, and I promise you'll never regret that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Definitely make sure to go check out that Black Friday sale. Hey, that may help you with, hey, what herbs do I need to grow? Go check out those tinctures. They're all herbs that we grow around here on the farm. But other than that, make sure that you get your mind on the garden. Never stop thinking about it. Get your rest in. But now it's time for the numbers in the think tank. Y'all, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button for me. We love y'all. Until the next one. Bye.